We are in topic 5. And in topic 5, we are planning public relations program. So programs in PR departments are so many. They can be sporting events, they can be a product launch, they could be a community activity. Those are some of the programs in the PR department. So we want to plan and execute one so that you can see what basically happens. So PR programs in the Mandela, PR programs come in two forms. They can be long-term or they can be short-term. So when I talk about long-term public relations programs are those ones that can be there for 1 year, while short-term are the ones that will act as a sporting event, a product launch, etc. So they can be as long as 1 year and shorter as a month, 3 months, etc. So why do we plan PR programs? Number one, to set targets for public relations. So like public relations is like just any other department, marketing, etc. It has got targets or aims that it wants to achieve at the end of a specific quarter. And basically, remember, PR works in close contact with marketing to create awareness of a product, and PR also helps in maintaining a good mutual relationship with the company. So one reason for planning in PR is to help those targets that were set to be achievable, so that by the end of that quarter, you can be able to see that the targets that you had set have been achieved. Number two, to estimate the working hours and other costs involved. Remember, the labor law requires us to work for 8 hours a day. But when you are planning for a PR program, you can work for extra hours. And even at times, you may require more staff to help you for just short time sessions, to help you for the purpose of the program. So for that purposes, you need to know working hours, the hours that you worked normally, the extra hours you got. From there, the HR will assist in the paying process, or even for again planning another program next time, how you are supposed to put things in place. The other reasons why we plan in the PR department is to select priorities. A priority is like a goal, which control the number and timing of different operations in the program. Remember, when you have priorities, goals, or set targets in the place, they normally control how you do things instead of just working blindly. But priorities give you a direction of operation. Then number 4, the reason why we plan a PR program is to help in the decision of a feasibility study. A feasibility study is normally a prior research of something, just to help you have the right staff of the right nature, to have good physical equipment, and also set a good budget. So a feasibility study is always a prior research of something that will help you hire the right staff. Remembering when you want to do a program, you will require staff. So you will hire the right staff with the right attitude, right qualification to help you launch your product. You will also be able to fetch right equipment for work. And when you are doing PR, you require good machine or equipment, like those ones for printing. You will require good vehicles also in place, and you will also require good cameras to take videos, pictures, etc. So those are the 4 reasons. Those are the 4 basic reasons why we plan in the PR department. And remember, when we plan, we are trying to foresee. Shane. And when we plan, in the PR department, we are normally trying to forecast and see what is likely to happen when we are working for a specific job in the PR department. From there, we move to appreciating the situation. So what is to appreciate? In this context, we want to have a deeper understanding or a full understanding of what is happening. That is what is known as appreciating the situation. To appreciate is normally to get the full understanding of something or to get a full recognition. You want to recognize something. You want to master it all. Hiyo ndio inaitwa appreciation. So right now we want to appreciate a situation. So what is the situation? The situation is that we are planning for a PR program. So for example, the program ni product launch. The product, it is a sporting event. So we want to look at how do you go into that process. Number one, when you have a situation in place that you want to launch, we normally have something known as logical planning. From the word logical, this one is normally planning in a very clear and precise way, step-by-step procedure of doing something. So the first thing when you want to appreciate a situation, you want to do a product launch. For example, you want to introduce a new food, a new beverage, or you want to tell your customers that there is a new touristic product in your destination. Step number one is logical planning. It is planning by objective. You plan by use of objective. Objective is the key thing. But the success of this planning is normally dependent on the skill and efficiency with which it is applied. So the key thing is objectives. The objectives need to be set clearly and precisely, and they need to be real-time objectives. Hiyo nimefanya nimeandika hapo chini, the kingpin is to exercise understanding of the situation. That is the major thing. Let the objectives help you understand the situation. Like you are doing a product launch, let the objectives be geared towards the product launch. How is it going to assist the people? Its effect, like that. So that after the product launch, you are able to generate feedbacks and tell that the product will be of good value to the customers that you are targeting. So step number one, logical planning. Planning is based on real-time objectives about whatever you want to do. Number two is the PR transfer process. That is the second way how we understand, we get an inner understanding of the situation, the product that we want to launch. So the function of a PR process is normally to convert people's negative attitude into positive ones. So basically, people are just always built towards negative situation. Very few people live in a positive environment. The reason why you conduct a PR process is to change people's negative mind to be positive. An example of a negative situation people normally have is hostility. We normally change hostility. Wewe kama PR ambassador, practitioner, you change hostility to sympathy. You change prejudice to acceptance, apathy to interest, and ignorance to knowledge. Those are the four negative situations we have about a product. Utapata umeenda launch a new product. The people whom umeenda kwa the host community, they are just hostile. They are ignorant. Unajua kama you are ignorant, you don't know about it. Unasema, wameleta nini chakula? Ai, mimi sijisikii na hiyo chakula. Sinezenda nipike kwangu. You see? So kazi ya PR transfer process is normally to remove a customer from that negative world to be into a positive world about something. When you are addressing hostility, these are the things you need to ask yourself. Number one, to what extent does the enemy exist? So you huwa unajiuliza, to what extent does our target group when you umeenda kwao hate your products? That is one. What form does it take? Like they hate your products, but which product does it take? And what makes them hate that product? So they will be very precise ukiwauliza, okay, they hate your, let me say they hate your budget rooms. Now, what makes them hate the budget room? Watasema, maybe the mattress ndio hard. Maybe the room is too cold. So they will give you all answers that makes them hate your product. That is the hostility part. Hostility is associated with hate. So when you go to the PR transfer process, you normally go to understand why is it that people hate your product. People don't feel like consuming your product. Then from all answers you achieve from hostility, you now go back to the company, you rectify them so that they can become a positive thing, which is sympathy. B, prejudice. When they talk about prejudice is normally caused by basically in social class. Social class is what normally causes prejudice, because now you see yourself or you feel yourself. There are some things you cannot do or you cannot associate yourself with. So causes of prejudice can be parental. So mzazi alikuweka standard fulani na wewe mwenyewe una feel huwezi shuka na ujui maisha itakuweka wapi. It can be educational, pengine umesoma sana so huwezi associate na watu hawakusoma. It can be religious, you know the aspect of religion in this world. It can be a social class, or just misunderstanding. Ni venye uelewi kitu vizuri, but sasa umejieka tu like ujisikii nayo. That one is prejudice. Then we move to C, apathy. And apathy is normally just disinterest in product, because you don't want to think, you don't want to research, you don't want anything, but because tu umesikia tu ni ya faith, unasema tu ni ya faith, hapana. That one is what is normally known as apathy. You don't want to think outside the box. There's no innovation in you. You just lose interest because it is associated with somebody. So ndio hiyo. This interest of a product can be caused by selfishness, laziness, lack of imagination, or the subject that is being presented is not done in an interesting and convincing way. So we should stop apathy in the world. Don't be selfish that you think that faith cannot do something good. Don't be lazy to research, or enda hata kwa website uangalie like walikuwa wanasema they are trying to introduce something. What about it? Don't be somebody who cannot think. And above way, don't look down upon others. Hata wamefanya advertisement nasema hiyo iko chini sana. You don't know what effort made those people to come and gather that whole content. So apathy is normally substituted in the positive world by the use of interest. So when people are trying to publicize their product, always have an interest just to know what is happening. Lastly, tuko na ignorance, where now ignorance tells us that companies should compete for a place in people's mind and memory. So when we talk about ignorance, when you are ignorant, you are always failing yourself. you yourself, because you don't want to know more. So PR teaches us that we should always look for knowledge, constant knowledge. So ignorance is substituted with knowledge. So it teaches companies, hospitality, tourism, and wherever, always compete for places in people's mind. That means if you are doing any form of publicity, make it as attractive and interesting so that it can convince people to use your product. So that was the second step of the PR transfer process. What public relation practitioners should do to the publics outside there. Point number 3, in the appreciation of the situation, is unnecessary compromise. Unnecessary compromise. Therefore, when you are launching a product to the public, remember to compromise. To compromise normally means that when you go to create a product, when you go to make a product public, always remember that not everyone will be for it. Not everyone will be for it. Some people will just disregard it. Some people will listen to it for a few minutes, and now the other percentage is whom will listen to you now in totality. So now, when you are at a position to compromise, you are always somebody who can settle out a problem without dispute in a mutual way in the 21st century of solving problems. So hiyo inamaanisha as a PR practitioner, just accept the way things will go. The program will not be 100% as you wanted it. Like ukienda launch a product, sio kila mtu ataitaka. Some people will just listen to it. Some people will click to it. Some people will buy it later, and we have those people who will buy it then. So to compromise, kuwa tu mtu mwenye unaweza elewa kiasi. So this is when a PR practitioner needs to be realistic and not optimistic. That means you should accept that the launch that you are doing is not 100% successful. Not everyone will buy in your idea, but it is just a certain group of people. Then the last one is investigation of the situation. So unnecessary compromise is normally during the launch. Then investigation of the situation is normally after the product launch, where now you are generating feedbacks now. Remember, feedback can be generated material day of the product launch, where you call those publics that are there and you ask them questions and you get the answers. Or you can use statistics in the office to generate feedback. So utaenda unachukua maybe captain order, unachukua jina mgeni, contacts, unampigia, then unajua ni aje alifeel about the product that you launched. Or we can still conduct primary research upon investigating the situation, whereby you will do a survey with questionnaires there for customers to give you answers about what you did. Then lastly is opinion polls. No, number 5 is opinion polls or the attitude study, where you, the public relations officer and staff, you create questions, give it to people so that people can give you answer about the situation. So it also happens, besides investigating the situation, we also have opinion polls. And opinion polls are what are normally termed again as attitude study. You will write down questions and give people to answer, or you can even ask them one-on-one to the people, so that you can know how far the situation that you are undertaking has gone. Then lastly is problem solving. So this is after the situation now, the product launch is over. Remember to know what were the problems that occurred, and we normally solve problems as fast as possible. So ndinasema, when the situation is appreciated, it is possible to recognize the problem and then you recommend the solution as fast as possible. That is where now we move to methods of appreciating. Na nimesema ku appreciate is to give a full understanding of something. So methods of appreciating a situation. Number one, you can do opinion, attitude, or image surveys. Nimewambia opinion and attitude surveys, what they are in place. So if it is opinion and or attitude, you ask people questions. You will put questionnaires there and surveys for people to tackle, and they give you answer. When it is an image survey, it is normally question about the public relation department of an ex-tourism firm, of an ex-hotel. So you want to basically look at the PR department, what they are doing to help that hotel or hospitality organization. So that one can also be a way of to see how valuable the PR department is to you. The other method of appreciating the solution is press cutting or monitored broadcasting scripts. Press cuttings ndio zile advertisement huwa zinawekwa katikati ya kitu. So let me think of a way I can talk about a press cutting. So it is, maybe it is a journal, it is a magazine, tuseme kama True Love. But ndani ya True Love, we know what are the components of True Love. Unachukua hizo the information from the PR department of your company, unaenda unapelekea editors na producers wa the Drum magazine, then they put it inside there. So that will be a press cutting. While a monitored broadcasting script ni ile enye watu naambia watu, guys, tomorrow at 7 to 7:30 p.m. we will be doing an advertisement about our company. So all of us will be seated waiting for kesho between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. for the advert to be done or the PR to be done. So that one is normally termed as a monitored broadcast script. Another method of appreciating a situation is by the use of sales figure trends and sales reports. So that one is through going through our sales records to know what is happening in the company. Next is state of competition and effect of imports. That one is also very true. You can see how your competitors are doing. You normally find in the hospitality industry that in the morning, kitu kama front office, you normally call your competitors to know how they are doing. Basically in terms of rooms, how many guests slept in their rooms. That is how we normally know the state of competition in our industry. Then tuko na share price, stock market, opinion, dividends, and balance sheet. That is also another way of to know what is happening. So share price is just basically how the industry is doing. Your industry, be it tourism, hospitality, how it is doing in the market. You normally find most of these organizations, they participate in the stock market. And remember, stock market inakunga to a risk of the shilling. The basic thing you're just supposed to know is when the shilling is doing well, then you're going to withdraw your shares, which is also again very hard. Huwa unapata saa saba profit ni 8, saa saba na dakika 5 imeshuka hadi 2. Another method of appreciating the situation is through industry relations situation, where you tend to know how your company is relating well with labor relations office in terms of how they settle mishahara za watu wenye wamezeeka, if strike happen in the industry and how they handle it. Another method of appreciating the situation is state and effect of weather. Weather ni climate. It can either sabotage you or it can always to be on your advantage. Remember, kukinyesha kabisa, even the publics that you wanted to address, they normally go away. So you lose it all. Then another method we have is customer complaint, product performance, and test reports. So customer complaint is always a way of generating feedback. Product performance, wa unaona tu the rate at which it is being consumed or it is being bought. You will know it through that, and same to test reports. Then we have discussion with sales force and distributors. Remember, these are the channel people who sell the product on our behalf. So when you discuss with them, they will tell you how the product, they will tell you guests who come to us, when we tell them about the budget rooms, they don't want. When we tell them about this, they don't want. So you can also generate information from sales force and distributors, kina travel agents and tour operators. Then another method of appreciating the situation is prices and effect of price changes. So when price go up and when price go down, remember, it is only in the hospitality and tourism industry that we believe that when the price is high, also the service quality is high. But when the price goes down, also expect the worst. But ukitoka in the hospitality and tourism industry, ukikuja kwa these other industry, watu tunajua vizuri, pesa ikienda juu wanatuibia. Then another method of appreciating the situation is by market forces. Studying market forces. Market forces ndo zile economic, social, political, technological, environmental. Those are always the market forces. So you study economics ni pesa. How money is doing in that world, changing of people's lifestyle. That one is economic. Social is how people relate. So sahi kuna COVID-19. Social relation imeenda chini kabisa. Then political is when the political climate is high and even it is low. So market forces come in those ways: economic, social, political, environmental. We look it under those perspectives. Then lastly, tuko na attitude of opinion leaders. So we normally have opinion leaders, the famous people we have in the industries. They can also help us understand how a situation is. So in the PR department, if you want to understand the way a product has done, we normally use those methods. You'll be able to know how the product is doing in the market so that you can know whether it requires more publicity and any other stand that you can offer as a company. From there again, we move to objectives, where objectives came from the first part of appreciating the situation, which was logical planning. Na nikasema, when we are talking about logical planning, plans are based on objectives. So these are the following ways of how we set our objectives. What we put into consideration while setting objectives. Number one, they need to change the image of a company when a company has adopted fresh activities. So if you are at the stage of logical planning, where you are putting objectives in place, an objective should change the image of a company. That means when a company has adopted fresh activities. I can give an example. That means if it is the hospitality industry, we have different types of hotel rooms. If you want to do away with now budget room, deluxe room, Evo, and now you want to bring in new hotel rooms, remember, it is the objective that will drive the customers to that. Through objective, the customers will know that this hospitality organization is trying to do away with these types of room and is trying to bring in these type of new rooms. Same to the tourism industry. We have some things that we can normally change. Maybe an animal is not doing well in the organization where you have brought it. You want to translocate. I think that one is always the right word in the tourism industry. So you want to translocate it and now return it back where it thrives best. You can use objectives in place to bring in that idea. Number two, objectives are also used to improve the caliber of job applicants. That one is in terms of employees. If you want employees who are more experienced, employees who are of the right type, wacha tu niseme hivyo. Also, objectives normally drive people. When you utakuwa express in the company, people normally know what type of employees are needed. Number three, to help, it normally tells the little known story of a company. Objectives help to Number three is to tell the little known story of the company and gain credit for achievement. So objectives also help in that, to know the story of a company, where the company is coming from and where it wants to be seen by its public. Number four, objectives helps to prepare the stock market for a new share issue because a private company is going public. So just as I said, remember, people participate in the PR process. We normally also participate in these markets, in the capital markets, in the stock markets, etc. So also objectives normally tells us the extent to which a company would like to participate in the market. Number 5, to improve community relation following public criticism based on misunderstanding of the company intention. So also objectives help in the creation of a good relationship, again, like restoring a good relationship between the community and the company after a misunderstanding had occurred. Number 6, objective help to educate installers, users, and consumers of the product. When you read the objective of a company, the objective of why we were launching a product, you can be able to know where a company is coming, is going, the importance of that product launch, and even the future of that company and the product to the public. Number 7, another importance of objective is to regain public confidence after a disaster. When objectives are clearly set, they also help in getting back, restoring the confidence of a public. Number 8, it helps to strengthen the company against the risk of a takeover. A takeover is when another stronger company wants to buy your company. When you set your objective right and tight, it normally prevents another competitor that feels like buying you or taking over the market share. Number 9, good objective help to establish a new takeover. That means, again, when you set good objectives, you can again take back a large market share that you had lost or maybe you had never garnered. Number 10, objective help to establish a new corporate entity. An entity is like an image. When you set good objectives, you create a strong corporate image. 11, it helps to make known the chairperson participation in public life. Remember, all PR programs have chair people. So hii sana sana, it does not now come in the hospitality and tourism industry, but we normally have those times when these other industries take place in PR program. Na utapata wakifanya PR huwa wanaandika, hata ukiangalia advertisement, the following program has been proudly sponsored by Royal Media Services, Zitech University, blah 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 blah. So when you name the people who are participating in a program, we normally tend to know those people who have brought in something yenye huwa ni pesa into the public life, which is normally again another publicity stunt. Another reason again where we need to define good objective is that to support a sponsorship scheme. So nimesema venye huwa tunafanya sponsorship of different activities. If your objectives are clearly stated, again, they normally make that thing that you are sponsoring, be it a game, hiyo hoteli ama touristic destination imeamua kusponsor a game, you look more organized, and now even you can market your products there because of good organizational skills. Number 13, importance of good objectives. One, they make politicians better informed about the company activities due to impending legislation which could affect a company unfavorably. Remember, the reason why we normally associate with these politicians is because of the lobbying process. That means the government is always trying to impose a law which can affect our industry. So a politician will always help when they go and overthrow that rule, or they add in other points which will now make that law not to affect us so much in our industry. So another reason why we put good objectives is to make politicians who are our legislators understand what we are up to in our industry, so that when they go to make rules, they ensure that the rules that they put on board will not affect us on the negative way, because in our industry it is commercial oriented. Then lastly, to make known the company research objectives. So objectives need to be clear in a company because they also help the research objectives to be more clearer, to ease the research process. So publics need to apply constraints and decide exactly which one can be reached effectively within the budget limit. That means objective needs to be looked into clearly when they are being set, so that we also don't strain our budget limits. Media and techniques. Public relation media entail the following. So these are the following media techniques we use in the public relations department. Number one, tuko na press. The press entail newspapers, and remember the newspapers come in various perspectives. Tuko na national newspapers, tuko na regional newspapers. We normally have free newspapers. Tuko na professional magazines, technical magazines. Basically, the press come in different forms. So national newspapers ndio the standard na ndio Nation. Then tuko na regional newspapers, newspaper ya your region. Like right now we have counties to take place. Then we have professional newspapers, zile zenye unapata kama ni za cookery books. Hiyo ni ya profession. Tuko na ya ma architects, tuko na ya ma doctors, like that. That one is normally used as a PR media. The other one we have is audiovisuals. We normally use them. These ones are slides and they are video cassettes that you watch and understand about a company. Then tuko na radio, and radio we have national radio station, we have local, and we have international radio station. So national ni English. National radio station ndio tuko nayo kama the English service. We have local ones that speak in your mother tongue, and then we have international one that come kama BBC, CNN. Then we have TV stations. We also have national, we have local, and we have international, Al Jazeera as examples. Another PR media tuko nayo ni exhibition, where you will do special exhibition about your products and trade fairs. Then tuko na printed materials also will act as PR materials. Remember, printed material can be educative, they can be informative, they can be for staff, they can be for prestige, etc. So we print so many things dependent on our industry for PR purposes. Educational ndio ile yenye unatoa hapo ZTech to tell you the ZTech courses. When it comes to our industries, also our industries can release PR medias that are printed kama brochures. Then we have sponsored books, also as PR materials in the industry. We normally have specific sponsored books. Then we have direct mail, where you send a guest a mail. And remember, if it is a direct mail, it needs to be personal. You send it specifically to that guest. Like right now, I'm seeing I have 24 students today. If I want to send mail, I will not send you a group mail. I will start with Brenda Watare. I send a specific mail to Brenda, sent. After that, I will move to Amoni Lubanga, nimalizane nayo moja moja. So that means by the end, I will have done 24 mails to all of you. So a mail is always specific. You don't generalize mails to customers. Another PR stunt we normally have, PR media we normally have is normally spoken word. And the spoken word, it is not just used in the entertainment industry, but we also use spoken word in the hospitality and tourism industry, where you normally find somebody is hired to speak something about the dish. If you watch Got Talent, we normally have those people who come for such like things, and they will market a specific dish in a hotel, in a cafe for that work. Then we also have sponsorship as a PR media. So it will sponsor sports, arts, etc. Then we have house journals also as a PR media, and house journals are normally divided into two. They can be internal and external. Internal given to the staff na inabaki tu hapo tu kwa kampuni, ni kama ile ukijoin mahali kazi, the HR will take you through. The HR will take you through the do's and don'ts in the company. That one is normally an internal house journal. Then external, the company newsletter, where anybody can have it and read it. Another PR media we have is the house style and corporate identity. The house style and corporate identity. Example hapo ni kama uniform, what gonna big, utapewa envelope, t-shirt na jina ya kampuni. Then lastly, tuko na other forms of PR media. So another form of PR media example ni postage stamp, where your company will decide to be used as a postage stamp. Ukienda kutuma barua, ukienda kununua stamp, tunapata ni ZTech University hapo juu. So itafanya any public who has left the post office ataenda ku Google what is ZTech University, anapata it is a higher institution of learning. Then sana anafikiria mtoto wake, sister yake, brother yake, etc. So we have so many types of PR media that can be used in place. After appreciating a situation, you need to assess the results. You have launched your product. You need to assess the result to come back with feedback. Very, very important. So the research technique used to appreciate a situation can often be repeated to evaluate results. Methods of evaluating results should be decided at the planning phase of the product launch or of appreciating a situation. And because the scheme sets out objectives, they are declared against which results can be tested if they are qualitative or quantitative. So remember to assess your results. Methods of assessing results are normally set at the planning phase, so that after we have launched our product, we start assessing results, so that these things go hand in hand. Kusikue na gap. Once you create a gap, remember the feedback will always be sketchy. So that is what is termed as planning PR program. So we have started from planning. After planning, that assignment is to be presented at 3:50 p.m. So when we come back, remember to join with microphone at 3